Get ready with me while I talk about the circumstances surrounding me cannonballing myself into MAGA. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade, I know. Also, apologies in advance, they're doing construction. I'm gonna try to reduce the noise, but no promises. So today, I want to talk about the series of events and more of the circumstances surrounding me doing a cannonball into MAGA politics and becoming a MAGA influencer. Because when I speak about it, I'm not exactly being upfront, and like that's not on purpose, but I just think there's part of my story that's been very difficult to talk about, even though it's been so long. But I do think it's important to understand the conditions and how joining any cult, especially something like MAGA, how that can be appealing to very vulnerable and broken individuals. I do want to preface this by saying that there should be a trigger warning because I will be talking about SA. A lot of talk about SA, isolation afterwards, and the trauma related to. So as some of you may know, in high school, I was homeschooled. I was very sheltered. I was very isolated in my high school time. And so then I go to college. And right away, I am swept up into politics. Donald Trump is doing a rally on my campus, like right before I start my freshman year, and I join these political organizations, but I'm also joining the party scene. So I had this nerdier, more cerebral side that, you know, I was getting itched through politics, and then I had this more broken side that really needed social and male validation that was itched by partying my fucking ass off. In the arms of the angel. You honestly don't want to now. I think every bathroom should have a couch. Needless to say, I made friends with some rather unsavory characters. Including one individual who was a snow dealer, okay? And at this time, like, I just want to explain, like, the pathology, like, snow on my campus, like, particularly within the party scene, was, like, very normalized, okay? And I had never like done anything like this before I had gone to college. I really hadn't drank much, like outside of like occasionally stealing my mom's tequila, but like I really had never like drank in a social scene or a party scene, and I certainly had never done substances. So throughout my entire freshman year of college, I am drinking, I am partying, I am going to darties. Like, there is not a day that I was not partying, honestly. Then during my sophomore year, also, I'm already like tweeting political stuff and getting like validation there, and again, like moving through the ranks of politics, but it's like, it's not front and center yet. So I have this girlfriend who I knew online, like as a teenager, and we will call her Arizona because that's where she was from. And Arizona is telling me about her family situation, that she's in such a bad situation. And mind you, I'm 19 years old. And she basically says like she needs to get out of her house because of how bad it is. And I'm like, you can come here. Like, we have room at my mom's house. Just come here. Like, you know, we'll take you in, essentially. And so we do, and she's basically like my roommate, really. And she very quickly joins my friend group and the party scene, okay? And very shortly into this, you know, she's like being absorbed into my friend group. These are like all her friends now too, and she's like pretty and fun, so like everyone likes her. And she's new. It's like kind of a small town, so you know, she did well. And then she takes a trip to Miami. And I am out with my degenerate friends, including this dealer, friend of ours, and we get very intoxicated. We're with a few people. I will call the dealer by his name. His name is Michael Cannon. And we party, we're all, you know, hammered. And on our way back from going out, we are in the car, and Mike decides to try like sucking on my neck. I like kind of push him off, and then he puts his hand down my shirt, and I punch him many times. And you know, I am very upset. I'm screaming at him, I'm pushing him, I'm hitting him. And then at this time he's hooking up with Arizona, by the way. And he leans over and whispers in my ear after all this, and he goes, "No one will believe you, and Arizona likes me, so she's not going to believe you either." And so I keep punching him. The other people in the car with us are like, you know, pulling us out of the car. Like, eventually they like drop me off, and they the person who was driving ends up like taking Mike home and texting me like, "Oh, I almost beat his ass on his lawn, like I'm so sorry." And mind you, again, I'm like also in like this MAGA sphere of information, and like at the height of Me Too. And what I'm being inundated with is like, whenever a woman comes out about these experiences, it's like, well, why didn't she file a police report? So I'm like, okay, like this happened, and if it happened, and to prove it happened, I need to file a police report like right away. Like I have to do something about this. This is fucked up. And so all of the people who are with us, they're like, you know, you're gonna ruin his life. Why don't you just talk to him? Maybe we can get him help. And like, I feel like I'm losing my mind, because I'm like, no, I'm not like rehabilitating an offender like this, because at the same time, there were other experiences that other women had articulated about this individual. Okay, so in my head, I'm like, he is just gonna keep offending. Like, this is a predator. And so because I was drinking underage, I go to the hospital for the report, because I didn't want to go to the police and get in trouble for drinking underage. I've like literally never like really spoken about this. But I think because of the reaction, like I had convinced myself that like I exaggerated about it, or maybe I didn't handle it right. And then like lately, like rereading the texts from the people involved, I didn't. The person who was driving the car, you know, I read the text where he was like, "Yeah, it happened, but I think you punched him too many times." No, I didn't. I didn't punch him enough. And so, as I said, Arizona was in Miami at this time, and I call her as soon as it happens, and she starts screaming at me. She's like, "I'm in fucking Miami on vacation. Like, I don't want to deal with this right now." And again, like, she'd been hooking up with him, so like rereading her texts, like they were just so awful. And you know, eventually the next day she's like, you know, I believe you, I'm done with him, I'm like cutting him off, all of this stuff. And then the next day, 2 days after this happens, she's like commenting friendly on his Instagram. And like everyone in this friend group, like they're in the party scene. Like they don't want to take a stand against the dealer, you know, against the party guy, against the guy that they get access to this stuff from. And so I'm getting these texts from the people who were there, like, you know, you have to think about what this is gonna do to his life. Mind you, this guy already had like multiple DUIs and a secret child that he like didn't pay child support for. Like, it's not like this was some freaking stand-up guy. And, you know, I'm like, being drunk is no excuse to do any of this. And so, like, I move forward with pressing charges. And it was really hard to like go through my photos because there's like a gap. It's like in 2016 when I first went to college in my freshman year, it's just like photos of me at the Trump rally right before I started college, and then it's gone. Up until this situation, like I deleted everything, every memory from my life, between that time period. And then it's just a wall of like 5 million Nikita Gill quotes, because I was finding solace in Pinterest quotes at this time, I guess. And then a few days later, I went to a Turning Point event with Candace Owens on my campus. Literally 20 days after this happened. But so then, you know, I'm doing what I think is like the right thing and moving forward. And I remember I had to like go into the courtroom, and it was the first time I had seen Mike like since this happened. And his attorney gets up there and is like, well, she was drinking, and she was using substances, she has all these problems. And I just like broke down and like ran out of the room, like, and I never followed up on it. And everyone in that group like switched up very quickly. Like within a few days they were, you know, posting on Snapchat, like all partying together again. And the girl who I had helped like and moved into my home like absorbed this friend group, and they were all like subtweeting me. And I know it sounds crazy because, you know, something like SA like that is so traumatic, but it was like almost more traumatic, the social effects of it, and like losing my entire friend group, and like being demonized and villainized for like doing what I was like told is the right thing to do in like that situation. And you know, I guess that's why I'm more understanding to people who don't forgive me for my harm, because some of those individuals have reached back out to me since, many years since, and said, you know, I'm sorry and you're doing great now. But like I almost ew, I don't want to cry. But yeah, I almost didn't make it through that situation. I had never felt so alone. Like I was so alone. And so yeah, and then I jumped headfirst into Republican politics with already all of this trauma about speaking up against men, and you know, this fear of losing my social community for speaking up. And so yeah, and I just want to say, like, I'm not telling you guys any of this as an excuse, but like rather reasoning and an explanation for like who I was, because my name has been said a lot and nobody actually knows me. Yeah. And this girl, Arizona, who like me and my family like tried to help, she still like pops up every now and then. Like when everything like really blew up last year, she came out of the woodworks and responded to someone who was putting out, you know, things about me and, you know, just smears. And she replies, she says, I lived with her for a year, like the stories I have. Bitch, what? And like I don't know, like I was just so, I think like it was all so traumatic that like even when she sent that, I convinced myself like, oh my god, like they're gonna expose me for like being a bad person. I like totally blew this out of proportion. I don't know. But then, you know, as I've been looking back through my text messages, as I like unpack how the fuck I got here, that's not the case. These people were really awful. It was really fucked up. And yeah. And so then, you know, I get involved in Republican politics, and I would see things, or I would experience things, and I'm like, okay, the right move is not to be loud, make yourself smaller, and maybe try to talk to the people and make change quietly. But yeah, like I think I think I have more understanding for the people who that my rhetoric has harmed when they say they don't forgive me, because again, like some of these people have reached out and apologized or said kind things, and I'm like, thanks, but no thanks. Like I don't forgive you for like the harm and the pain that you caused me and like the actions that you took. Like I don't. And it sucked to see everyone move on. You know, like Mike Cannon is married now, and all of these people just, you know, it's hard when you go through something like that, like something that consumes your entire being and like affects you so deeply, and to just like watch the world move on. Um, that sucked a lot. And even though I was like broken and partying and doing all this stuff, like I always valued like my work ethic and my schooling and all of that. And I'll never forget one of my favorite professors, like after this situation had like just happened, and I tried going back to classes, and he pulled me aside after class and he was like, are you like okay? Because it's like the lights are on but no one's home. Pro tip, I've cried so many times with makeup, is you just take the tissue and like dab the tears out. Okay, we're gonna move on. It's so yeah. And then I officially joined MAGA, and I was a good little intern for Republican politics. Then I moved up the ranks and worked at a fundraising and consulting firm, and Charlie Kirk told me I was doing a good job. And I was very broken again. I was hanging out with like snowheads, and then I go to these Turning Point conferences and I'm like, oh wow, I can still do all of this stuff and party because all of these people do it. And I got a Saint Bernard. I named her Nova, because in my very limited understanding of space at that time, it was my understanding that a star exploding is the only way that a new star can be born. And Nova helped me a lot, and my friends helped me a lot, at least the few that I still had, and my mom, and yeah. And after that, I had a really hard time telling men no, because that didn't end well for me last time. So I would find myself in these situations where I would just like freeze. So eventually, when we get to the part in this story where I leave MAGA, you know, there's there's this narrative that goes around that like I'm only doing this because I lost everyone and whatever. And no, I already did that. That's how I joined MAGA. When I came out with the things that I did a year and a half ago, I knew that I was going to lose everyone by speaking out against a man that they liked, because I had already experienced that. But there's Stephen Colbert has this quote in an interview where he says, you know, for what punishments of God are not gifts. And if that hadn't happened to me, maybe I wouldn't have had the strength and the fortitude to do what I did then and what I'm doing now. Because you're right, I did lose everyone in MAGA, but that's okay. They weren't good people. They weren't good people at all. And I was ready to lose them. Get ready with me while I talk about the entire world finding out I had a secret baby with Elon Musk. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Now, I had to take a break because, first of all, I've never spoken about so much of this publicly, and it's just a lot. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of guilt from myself, from my own actions. There's a lot of feedback coming from all of these various inputs on the left, on the right, all of these people reaching out. And I want to make sure that I don't get involved in the same negative feedback loops or even positive feedback loops that ended up being harmful that I was involved in when I first got involved in MAGA politics. So I've been taking a break, and there's also the safety situation with my family is still ongoing. These people who are harassing my family are still outside of my home. They are coming to near my children's school. It's a lot, okay? So I need a break. And when I need one, I'm going to take one. But I do appreciate everyone reaching out and seeing if I'm okay. If you haven't already, I suggest that you catch up in the playlist, particularly on the Women of Mar-a-Lago videos and the entire relationship with Elon saga, because some of these characters are going to be reintroduced. So today I'm going to be trying the Forever Skin Glow by Dior because I had to exchange some things at Sephora and they wouldn't let me do a full exchange, so I had to, whatever. We're going to be trying this today. Also, a quick update on the Marcavius Rumpf case. Thank you to everyone who brought attention. There has been an arrest made, but they are still looking to get more information. So if you can, please keep the pressure on to the case in Alabama for Marcavius Rumpf. Now, when we last spoke, we were discussing the election, the timeline around the 2024 election, Elon's weird-ass texts about space lasers and data that he had that, in my opinion, he shouldn't have had. Now, this time around the election was really weird for me. I was a registered independent, but it was just, there was a lot of conflicting feelings. It's like, oh, you know, we won, and you have all of these people around you who are making it like this is a good thing for the country, and we won, we won, we won. And simultaneously, I'm surrounded by people that are really just making me question, like, what the fuck am I involved in? What the fuck have we done? And one of those people is a woman mentioned in my Mar-a-Lago, the Women of Mar-a-Lago series, Ozempic. Okay? Now, Ozempic, this was a very bad choice on my part, but Ozempic was, for a while, a close friend of mine. She is, like, 20 years older than me, so I viewed her as, like, this big sister type in the movement. She was fucking my former boss. Like, she just knew things that other people didn't. I don't know. I honestly don't know. why I was so close to her, but I was. And she was one of the people that I unfortunately decided to disclose my relationship and subsequent pregnancy with Elon to, okay? And there would be many times that people around her all of a sudden knew about this situation, or there would be times I needed to call her and talk to her about something, and I would be mentioning like sensitive things, and she would be like, "Oh, you're on speaker with, you know, this person, this person, and this person." I'm like, "Oh my God, like I didn't want these people to know." Whatever. So she basically told anyone who would listen, and I had many conversations with her like, "Hey, like this is private. I really don't need the scrutiny and everything that's going to come from this. Like, I just want to keep my family safe. Like, please stop doing this." And she didn't, okay? She ends up telling AA, okay? The alcoholic recovering addict that runs around the White House in Mar-a-Lago. And it just made me so uncomfortable because we would be at events and AA, this woman who has a bunch of problems and now works at the White House, was like, "Come on, you need to let her in. This is Elon's girlfriend," all of this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, please stop this, please stop this. And it just got out of hand. Simultaneously, Ozempic had a wonderful husband, okay? And I am the last person to defend a man, but she really had a wonderful husband who is a great dad. She had a beautiful son. They lived in Jupiter. And this woman, around the time of the election, like shortly before, she meets a very powerful individual who is like one of the right-hand man of Trump. He's one of the people who's been there the longest, and she basically sees this as her ticket to like access and power. You know, Ozempic is obsessed with going to Mar-a-Lago and having access and social climbing. And so she basically, mind you, this woman is like championing this administration that is like taking away reproductive rights for so many people. And she had an abortion like around this time, by the way. I don't really care. If you people are going to take away rights from other people, like, I'm going to dox your abortions. Don't care. So she meets this guy, and she's basically like, I can see in her eyes, she's like, I'm going to leave my husband. I'm going to leave my husband. I'm going to abandon my kid. And so this causes me, combined with obviously all of this other stuff that I'm seeing with Elon and the admin and just things that are making me uncomfortable, I am like, why am I surrounded by these people? Like, am I like these people? Like, do they think I'm like them? Am I acting like them? And I just like kind of had a real crisis of identity. I was like, I don't want to be anything like these people. I started, obviously at this point, I'm being surrounded by more like wealthy capitalist circles and people with money. And I'm just coming to the conclusion that I don't like rich people. Like, I think rich people are fucking weird. I think they're completely disconnected from reality. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm like, my family comes from like a working class background, and like there were times that we were on public assistance, and you know, obviously my family does well now, but it just, the whole lifestyle, the whole thing just started to make me really, really uncomfortable, and just started questioning my own decisions a lot. Mind you, in September, I give birth to my second son, and I give birth alone with my mom in the delivery room, and like things start just getting weird. There had never previously been any like conversation really about privacy or secrecy really until like up till I gave birth. Like, for example, Elon and I had this mutual friend who had this wedding in Rome. And Elon was texting me. He's like, because he was invited to it as well. And he's like, oh, I'll be your date to the wedding. Like, are you going? Yada, yada, who. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then when I give birth, this mutual friend messages him and is like, oh, you know, congrats. And he flips the fuck out and starts messaging me frantically. He's like, if anybody knows, like, everyone's gonna die. Like, just like psychotic stuff. He's like, I'm, you know, nobody can know, just crazy stuff. I literally just gave birth, like, literally just popped this child out. And again, like, previously, like, what do you, like, it was just so shocking and weird because a couple months prior, he's like, oh, I'll be your date to her wedding. I was 8 months pregnant. What the fuck are you talking about? 7 months, whatever. So it was just like very weird. And I just could not help but feel like I was starting to be pressured while I was in a very vulnerable spot. And there are certain aspects of this, like, I can't talk about because of certain matters, at least not right now. Hopefully I will be able to talk about them eventually, but so then I'm 2 months postpartum, 2 months, right? And in December, Jared Burchell, the fucking demon who runs, who's like the money manager for Elon. He's basically Elon's henchman, okay? This guy like hired a con man to harass and be an investigator during the whole like PDF file scandal when Elon like was tweeting allegedly defamatory things at that cave diver. I don't know. But Jared Burchell is a piece of shit and a very horrible human being. And so Jared, I am postpartum, okay? This is the most vulnerable time for a woman. And this fucking sack of shit sends me a $40 million NDA over disappearing, NDA and non-disparagement, okay? Like, into eternity. There's not really, like, any protections for, like, me or my family. Like, it is literally, it's, like, pretty fucking one-sided, it's insane. There's like this forfeiture clause. It's nuts. And it's sent over disappearing signal messages, even though Jared is aware that I have counsel. And he sends me this fucking insane contract and tries pressuring me into this. He has this very long 2-hour phone call with me where he basically tries like digging up any dirt on me. He tells me that all the other women have signed and yada yada. It's really fucked up, and there's a larger project happening where this is discussed more in length, but it was really fucked up. And so my decision to not sign this was rather quick, okay? It was within a few hours that I told Jared I can't in good conscience sign this. I had told him like, hey, I don't care. I'd rather have nothing with my kids than sign this. I can't do it. And because in my head, someone who's that consequential, like, I did not just have a kid with Joe Schmo. This is not like an NDA with Joe Schmo, even which, like, I don't, there's reasons to not sign the NDAs with Joe Schmo either, but, like, this individual is one of the most consequential figures in the world. I'm not signing anything where I can never, ever, ever, ever speak out against them. Like, that's not in the best interest for my children, for myself, or for the rest of the world. Like, that's fucking crazy. I'm not doing that. And so it's been, I wish there was more I could say, because there's so much that I want to say, but I had to make a choice then. I had to make a choice on, because I knew when I told Elon no, when I told this man no, it was, sorry, there's powder. it was gonna be as if I had never told him yes. And sure enough, like that was the case. Things just, it was not good. Simultaneously, there's a million people who are already speculating that I've had a child because I like disappeared. I got kind of bigger for a while. And also, like, the man who's most publicly interacting with me has a fucking harem. So everyone's like, oh, I bet she's an Elon baby mama. At one point, I was like 6 months pregnant and I had a handyman come and build a crib for my incoming son. And he was like, the handyman, who I don't know from fucking Adam, is like, oh, I saw like Elon Musk responding to you. Like, that's so cool. And it was just like constant. It was really like psychologically tormenting. Like, sorry, I couldn't do it. I can't like keep a secret that big. Sorry. Like, that's just fucking insane. People were asking questions. Like, at one point, like, Tucker Carlson's producer was calling my boss and asking, like, it was just fucking insane. Okay, it was, and whatever, if people want to blame me for like some of my friends knowing, or fucking Ozempi, who's now married to that fat fuck at the White House, saying things, whatever. However, once it came to the point that journalists were showing up at the offices of my family, they were physically confronting people in my life, they were calling my neighbors, okay? To the point that one of my neighbors stops me in the hall one day and he's like, hey, when you get a second, can we chat? And I had never spoken to this neighbor in my life. And he pulls me into his house. He's like, you and I could not be more opposed politically. I didn't even know who you were until this, this outlet reached out to me, this journalist reached out to me, but it made me really uncomfortable. They were asking if I've seen a baby. They were asking about your other child. And like, I just feel like I have to tell you. And they were asking about Elon. And so at this point, I'm like, I'm not letting some fucking slimeball journalist get an exclusive on my baby. Okay? I'm just not, I don't want my son to ever like feel like he was a secret. I just don't. So I was like, yo, fuck this. I'm gonna talk about it myself. And so I text Elon, I'm like, we need to chat, like, in person. And he's like, okay, cool. And so I go down to DC to talk to him. And I'm supposed to talk to him on the 13th. He like, whatever, he's busy. And then I'm like, dude, the next morning after he like blows this off, I'm like, I am going to go public. I'm not letting them do this. We would prefer that this is with you and with your team, but none of you are responding. Like, they just keep reading the fucking messages, despite like always being responsive in the past. And meanwhile, like, mind you, I've watched him call fucking Rupert Murdoch to try to get pizzas killed, and he's just not being helpful whatsoever. Like, so I wait, and then I'm like, I don't have a choice. Like, I'm posting this. I'm not letting any fucking outlet have an exclusive on my baby. And so I post it. Now, on my original post in which I announced this, you can see so many within MAGA are like, congrats, this is wonderful, because they assumed that I had the blessing of their Lord and Savior, Elon, okay? Very quickly, Elon, despite not responding to us about handling this in a way that was collaborative, starts responding to shit, calling me a gold digger, saying that I plan to baby trap him for a fucking decade, half a decade, whatever it was, and just going batshit crazy online, and still isn't responding to anything else from anyone on my team. And then right away, MAGA's like, oh shit, we fucked up. We didn't wait for his talking points. And things changed. But I knew that was gonna happen. Like, there's so many people who are like, oh, she's only doing this pivot because MAGA threw her out. No, I knew the moment they knew that Elon was not pleased with my disobedience, that that they were going to switch up. And I was ready to do that because I have to make what I believe is the right decisions for my family and my kids and, you know, much larger things. Now, of course, I announced this on February 14th, which unbeknownst to me, because I am in a state of postpartum and disarray, I did not realize this was Valentine's Day, okay? But many people did, and this was very fun for them to be like, the scorned woman on Valentine's Day, the baby mama drama, Valentine's Day drama. What the fuck? And like, as crazy as everything was when it first came out, I also felt so relieved to just like have it off of my chest, to not worry about someone selling this secret, to have this secret. Like, it was just really, I think especially being postpartum, it was just so much. Something that was really crazy, I genuinely don't think like people understand like how many eyeballs were on Elon at this time, because even when I was giving birth at my hospital, the security at the hospital is like, we know there's a connection to Elon Musk. What? Like, it was just, it was constant. It was crazy because people would be like, oh, like, what's this young girl doing? And I would try lying to people. Like, there's a friend I had that we went to a basketball game, and, you know, she had a young baby around the same age, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I just decided to have another kid, and like pretending like I just got some like sperm donor. It was just, I couldn't do it. Like, it was so hard to lie, and like people just had questions. Like, there's no way this was gonna stay private, and I there's no way. There were so many people asking questions. There were so many people digging into my life, into his life. He decided to, like, you know, dismantle the entire federal government. So, like, all eyes were on him. And also, like, again, I was, during this time, I like just had a baby. I'm like at my circle at this point, it's like the Mar-a-Lago MAGA crowd, and I'm going to these events and I'm around these people, even though I'm like uncomfortable. And then like Elon would show, like, he invaded my, what was like my social circle. Even though I was getting pretty sick of them, like, now all of a sudden he's everywhere. Okay, like, I cannot get away from him. He's in all the places I was. And then he starts bringing around Siobhan, which, okay, he had already told me, like, you know, I should tell you, I technically live with Siobhan half the time. But now I'm like in this weird position where this woman is showing up to a place that I've been going for years, and like she thinks she's in some like monogamous relationship with you, and the young girl that you have a secret baby with is across the way. Like, it was just, it wasn't even like a jealousy thing. It was just fucking weird. Like, I did not like this situation. It was a lot to deal with, and I didn't want to deal with it. Like, it was just a lot to, and she was like taken aback, Siobhan, when all of this came out, because when I made my announcement, she started calling around like mutual friends of ours, and she was like, did you know about this? Like, she pretends to be all cool, calm, and collected, but I honestly think, actually, I'm not gonna say that. I don't know her, but like at first I felt bad for her, but then I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, but it was just all really, really uncomfortable. And again, like, at this point, I'm already like oscillating ideologically. Like, I'm just not comfortable with so much that I've seen. I'm like recognizing the immense impact that all of this has. And I know it sounds so stupid, but it really was like the first time that I realized like how impactful my own words were and my own actions. And I just wanted to do better for my kids. At that point, I'm like now a mom of two. I'm like, is this like the moral legacy I want to leave for my kids, is being involved with these people? Like, No, I don't. And it just really, it's going to take a lot longer than like just a year to deconstruct and unpack like why I made the poor decisions that I did. Um, and to undo the harm, but I gotta start somewhere, I guess. And what I can tell you is the conversations I'm now having publicly are no different than the conversations I was having privately about the change in my views, the guilt I felt for being a part of certain things, and yeah. And also, like, his treatment of other people became more real to me once I had a child with him, because previously, like, obviously the trans issue and all of these other issues are, like, to me just like political talking points, as fucked up as that is. And then once I had a child, I'm like, wait, like, this is, you know, the other child that he's talking shit about online, like, it just became a lot. I became like more curious about the other women's experiences. Like, I just felt a deep desire to connect with them because nobody else can relate to this situation and how crazy it is. And I don't know. I don't even know if any of this is going to make sense or if I'm going to post it, but. And simultaneously, Elon is a scary guy. Like, I felt so deeply for like what Claire Grimes was going through, because again, I have an older son, and then Elon would be texting me like, oh, you know, I won this in court, and it was just like, fuck, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And I think it's difficult. There's a few things going on like within the public dialogue about me. One, there's so many people who have a right to be angry at me, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. These people don't owe me forgiveness, the communities that I've harmed. I am genuinely attempting to make amends, seeing what I can do, especially financial amends for the trans and POC communities that my rhetoric harmed. There's also this like phenomenon that for many, I'm going to be the only accessible figure they're ever going to have to release these frustrations over everything that's going on, and that's okay. Like, if I can be that for you guys, that's fine. And then there's just also people who are never, they're always gonna say suck my dick. Okay, that's fine. And I'm not a perfect victim. I have so many flaws, and the best I can do, like especially for my kids, is at least when they get access to the internet, I'm hoping that they can listen to and read me in my own words alongside everybody else. And like, also, I don't look good in half of these stories that I'm telling you guys. Like, this is not, everyone's like, oh, it's a rebrand. I don't look good in half of this that I'm telling you. Like, I am telling you the most embarrassing shit of my life. Like, years ago, you could not waterboard this information out of me. Get ready with me while I talk about the reporting in TMZ that Elon's space lasers and the election comment was just some super big brain 3D chess metaphor that all of us are too stupid to understand. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. So a few days ago, I talked about some discussions I had had with Elon regarding, oh, what am I doing here? Regarding the election and certain things he had said to me about his space lasers, certain data he sent me, real-time Delta vote metrics from America PAC. And I think it's important to note that in all of this, I've not made any definitive statements or accusations. I am merely recounting accurate recollections of these conversations and the information I was sent. One thing about me is I love gossiping with my girlfriends, okay? If I'm talking to a man, whether it's the richest man in the world or a hockey player, say cheese, bitch, I'm gonna screenshot because we have to yap about it. Honestly, the only place you're gonna have a private conversation with me is in person, and that is the only place where I will respect the rules of privacy. If you are sending it over the internet, over text, over anything, click. Now, after I divulged this information, there was a lot of people talking about it because it's definitely super weird that the richest man in the world who said that Donald Trump would not have won without him, and Donald Trump said they have a super duper big secret and that Elon's really good with computers. People thought it was also strange that he was simultaneously saying that his super secret move on the chessboard and his anomaly in the Matrix were his 10,000 lasers in space, and that he agreed that I should not ask more because I would be deposed. Okay, his words, not mine. Now, a source close to Elon has given a statement to TMZ, and this statement said that this is nonsense. That, and this is their words, the space laser thing, the sky laser thing, was just a 3D chess metaphor that she is me, by the way, doesn't understand. Yes, of course. The infamous space laser chess move metaphor that I don't understand. Also, I love how they're like saying the sky laser thingy as if it's not coming from the individual who literally owns the space lasers and was talking about it. But something interesting is they're not denying that this conversation happened because they cannot, okay? Anyways, even if we are to stipulate that I am just not big brain Einstein enough to understand Elon's 3D, as opposed to like 2D chess, 3D chess metaphor that he was using with the space lasers, let's stipulate that I'm just not smart enough to understand, right? Then explain it to us really, really slow. Explain it to us really, really slow what you meant by that. Explain to us why it's very wise that I not ask more questions to avoid being deposed. And explain to us what you meant by real-time election data. How did you have that? Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but there's nothing about our elections and democracy that should just be a big brain chess metaphor that the American people cannot understand. In fact, there should be nothing about our elections that requires some sort of fucking riddle decoding to understand. And I do think this is something that is far above my pay grade, okay? These questions need to come from Congress. Did AmericaPac rely on traditional inputs for their data, such as canvassing and polling? And if the answer for where you got your data inputs is just canvassing and polling, why did the data look nothing like canvassing and polling? I'm not asking people to believe in some Bond villain plot here. But, and I'm not saying that these satellites were definitely used to interfere in the election. All I'm saying is that there should be questions asked, especially when someone has access to these types of technology and was saying the things that he was, both privately and publicly. He should be made to explain what he meant by this super big brain chess metaphor. Again, how did you have charts with these delta vote metrics prior to election day? Did AmericaPac have access to unusually fast behavioral inference? And if so, how? I don't know if we'll ever get the answers to that, okay? Because so much of what the American people should know is hidden under the guise of national security. And please explain to us what you meant when you said Without you, Trump wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have won the presidency and he wouldn't have won the House. What did you mean by that? And if I'm just so stupid, I'm just a naive little girl who doesn't understand your big brain chess metaphors, why were you asking my opinion on the VP and admin picks? Why were you telling me this stuff to begin with? And why, when I said, and mind you, I was being very pick-me here, okay, so please forgive me. Why, when I said, wow, if your space lasers end up being the reason that we take the presidency, this will be, you know, something simulation. I was like, this will be so cool. Why did you respond to that with 100 emoji instead of telling me, silly girl, it was just a chess metaphor. I'm not doing anything with my space lasers. And also, why were you interviewing NASA administrators at Mar-a-Lago? And don't take my word for it, take Elon's word for it. Is anybody curious why the man who claims to be the bastion of transparency and truth and speaking truth to power, why everyone who fucking ever meets him has an NDA? Okay? These people, what has been constructed with NDAs is essentially a privatized legal system where these people can manufacture their reputations and manufacture reality through coercion and silence. And how can there possibly be any meaningful consent on any of these NDAs, most NDAs, when at the other end of almost every single one is such a severe imbalance of power? This is what has stopped so much evil from being spoken about, from Epstein to Weinstein to Elon Musk. And the things that are happening to me are happening because I said no. Because the moment I said no to this man, it was as if I had never said yes. They can call me crazy all they want. They can dig up whatever dirt they want on me. I'll talk about it freely myself. I'll yap on here. Go ahead, air more dirt on me. I'll have another topic for a story time. But it will be abundantly clear what you're doing should you do that. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not the one with government contracts. I'm not the one at the White House. I'm not the one making consequential decisions for the entire country and globe. So even if I was some degenerate crazy person, that has no bearing on the truth that I am telling you right now. It has no bearing because I'm not making any of these decisions. I am yapping on TikTok about what is right. What safeguards do we have in this fucking country to protect our elections from these private ecosystems, from these private companies who have control of so much infrastructure, consequential technology? What is preventing them from doing this? And who the hell is going to ask more questions than I am on TikTok? And if all you were sending me were big brain chess metaphors, why did you value my silence at $40 million? Can you explain that one? What fucking formula went into what you valued my silence at? And it's not only what you said to me, it's also what your engineers told me, what your employees told me, what they were working on. The incestual nature of your companies and the election and Doge and our government. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but when it comes to our elections, none of the ways in which you profile, track, and monitor voters, the American people, should be fucking proprietary, okay? The United States and its citizens, and the entire world, since we want to fuck around everywhere, deserves to know what the fuck is going on in our elections. You don't get to shut everyone up who asks questions about what the fuck you're doing in our elections, okay? Welcome to America. We ask questions. we should have free and fair elections, and we should know how those elections are operated. Okay? For the people who are screaming about mail-in ballots and how dangerous mail-in ballots and immigrants are to our elections, and then says that his super secret election move is just a chess metaphor that he can't explain to anybody. He can't explain to anybody why Donald Trump wouldn't have won without him. And Congress seems completely disinterested in doing any inquiry into how he had real-time data. Anybody in politics will tell you that you cannot get that sort of real-time data with the existing traditional political infrastructure of door knocking and canvassing and voter files. And I really don't think you should just label anyone who has these very valid questions as just some crazy, dumb, scorned individual, because it's not just me, okay? And again, they're not denying the conversation happened. They're just saying that you all are too stupid to understand that it's just a chess metaphor, and leave it at that. If it is a healthy and legal and ethical system that you are and have been using, then it should survive scrutiny. It should survive observation. It should survive questioning from the American public. And with the accusations that have come after I disclosed these conversations, and the questions, you would think it would be really easy for someone to say, wow, this bitch is absolutely batshit. I did not use any of my technology or data that nobody else has access to in the 2024 election. That should be a really easy statement to make. I'm sure you could get affidavits from everyone on America PAC, since you guys love affidavits so much. Yeah, but again, this is not my job. This is a job for Congress. I've done my duty. I've put it out there. What happens now? Beyond my control. And what we're not going to do is make me sound crazy for literally repeating the shit you said. So if you think it sounds crazy or schizo, the things I said, you have 3 fingers pointing. It's 3, yeah. You have 3 fingers pointing back at you because you're the one who fucking said it. These are your words. Like, I'm not just making these words up, okay? And as I'm sitting here, I'm getting a notification from an email from another one of your many, many attorneys because you're currently suing me in Texas for a terms of service violation on Twitter after I sued your company, your AI company, for undressing me as a child. I am one of millions of women and children that your technology did this to. Like, what gaslighters? Oh my god, our technology, we'd never do scary, nefarious things with our technology. Dude, I watched your robot undress toddlers and cover them in white sticky donut glaze. Okay, I will never, ever get those images out of my fucking head. And you want to tell me it's a step too far to release the text you sent, the words out of the horse's mouth about your space lasers and the election? I will end this with one of my favorite quotes from C.S. Lewis, which I will summarize, paraphrase, and probably butcher. But C.S. Lewis has a quote to the effect of, when the Bible speaks of fighting principalities and hypersomatic beings and things much larger than us, the implication is that they are to be fought by ordinary people. And I truly believe that. I believe, from my experience and being around these people, that they are terrified of the average person.